It's taken me like kicking and dragging and yelling at God, really drilling down on the fact that this isn't fair for however often before I can even say, God, can you please help me to be willing? And I want to reset the starting point for what is normal for engaging with the forgiveness process. I'm Silver, the Rogue Yogi, a born clairvoyant, a near-death experiencer. I'm here to remind all of you that you are your best guru. We're going to talk about how much the practice of forgiveness sucks. This is going to be a very realistic, granular review. The thing I see clog people up and keep them stuck in the same mindset the most is decades-old resentment, which is so human. There's nothing wrong with it. It's completely natural. Emotions are pretty much everything here on Earth. They are the curriculum. And when we get upset by someone, when someone we love and trust breaks that bond, especially when it's in a really egregious way, I've actually seen it. There is a point of origin a little bit in front of your heart, and it shatters. Being betrayed like that, it actually shatters a part of you energetically. And it takes, and this is what sucks, it takes a lot of work to get that pieced back together again. But this is what I feel like I don't hear enough people say. There are concrete steps to get you to forgiveness. I literally have something I intentionally named the forgiveness recipe. And it is broken down into instructions. It sucks all the vagueness out of how to forgive someone who has deeply hurt you. But what's not said enough is that it's really hard to even get to the point where you're willing to try and forgive. And I want to make it so clear that your initial recoiling from undergoing this process, where let's say you have been betrayed to the bone, it wasn't your doing, but it is your inner emotional atmosphere to contend with. And in your heart, you cannot live this way. Not a tenable emotional state to be in. You're not really able to show up. I've been in situations where I have had to, what I call, pray beg for months before I was even ready to attempt the beginning of a forgiveness process. And that is so important for all of us to hear. You're not gonna wanna. Who wants to go within and do this work and sit down with this experience that just gutted you and at least come to neutrality with it? The biggest hurdle is getting to that point of even being willing enough to begin. And I think that stage where your heart is closed and you are not there, not ready, the idea of even saying a prayer about the situation makes you boil over with anger. That is the normal starting point for someone who is aware, yes, I intellectually understand, I can't operate like this, I've got to forgive. But the normal starting point for any situation like that is complete rejection, shutdown, it's not fair, this sucks, I don't want to do this, it's going to be painful. Why am I having to do all this work when I wasn't even the asshole? I want anyone who's listening to this who has maybe, 15-year resentment with somebody to hear me and be like, that is the starting point. In all of my life experience, and I have had to work with forgiveness with the closest people to me, I've never started with my forgiveness recipe. It's taken me kicking and dragging and yelling at God and really drilling down on the fact that this isn't fair for however often before I can even say, God, can you please help me to be willing? And I want to reset the starting point for what is normal for engaging with the forgiveness process. It is a juggernaut. But I just also want to put out there, anytime I've gone into a period of some kind of juggernaut of introspection or inventory or just knowing I need to get something done, and it's not going to happen unless it's with whatever you call God. It's just happened so many times, and never once has it been graceful. And I just want to share with you guys, I have my own idea of what God is. I speak to God like an unconditionally loving best friend. And there have been times when I have literally, and I don't do this to my real friends, but my flesh and blood friends, but there have been times when, let's say, for example, I've been praying so hard and it's been months with no movement, where I have found myself crying and swearing like a god. And I know from my NDE that is okay. We don't hurt God's feelings. We are one and the same, so you don't need to put on any kind of facade. When I am in a deep ditch, usually of my own dumbass doing, I am unnecessarily, because it's never necessary, but I am pray begging like a wildebeest for help. It doesn't matter how you get yourself to the point where you're even able and willing to ask for help, to be willing to forgive someone. However long it takes, whatever that looks like, there is no correct way to proceed. You can definitely take my ideas and go with them and strip them for parts, always. You know yourself best. And the one thing I do want to say is, if you are in this situation, a first step could be just stating the intention and say it crankily. This is my intention to the universe. Right now, I am capable of saying I actually hate this person, but it is my intention. However, we can come together and get this done however long it takes. It is my intention to forgive. Reminding yourself that it's not fair thing, it doesn't freaking matter. You don't want to be the one who lives this wounded, failed animal, some kind of like a rabbit caught in a bear trap, because that's pain and suffering that comes along with that. That's why it is so important to dissolve that gunk inside, because that gunk is so freaking powerful. It hinders everything. Nothing stays. We're not androids. Things don't stay neatly programmed into shoeboxed sections. If you've got any kind of deep, old, and high level emotional gunk in you, without your realizing it or not, it is acting like a lens, and everything you're engaging with and experiencing is being processed, however much, through that lens of pain and anger. And if more proof would help, there are likely situations you can point to, and start with the most direct situation connected with the forgiveness issue, whatever area of life that was. I am sure you will find other frustration or lack of clarity, or a sense of just banging up against some kind of wall and never really getting to where you want to go. The other thing, and dear God, we could go on for hours about this, is in forgiveness, there's always necessarily a piece of it in which we have to forgive ourselves. It is two people or person in a circumstance, or however many people, but we were a part of whatever happened. And it may have been something out of your control entirely, like something terrible that happened in childhood, something that you had no say or no control over. That is 100% possible. But at the minimum, we still have to forgive ourselves for hanging onto it for so long. I was in a relationship for a long time, and the entire time I was forcibly shoving down my intuition because I did not want to see reality. I wanted to see the version of reality my heart was clinging to. And there is a quick prayer. It's Hawaiian, it's super old. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I always sound like I have a really bad stutter, because I honestly don't know how many syllables it is. It's so long. But ideally, and let me say, I can't get to this point until way into the process. Otherwise, I look in the mirror at myself and I just start crying. I can't even get the words out. But use this as a marker. When it comes time where you're able to look in a mirror at yourself and say this, you have made exponential progress. And I'll just say it really quickly so you can hang on to it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. And that is said from you to you. And it's a bitch. I don't know what it is about it, but it's almost like a truth 10. It feels that way to me. And I cannot say that until probably 3/4 of the way through. And if you're wondering, like, what does forgiveness really feel like or look like? I don't know for everyone, but for me, it's looked like neutrality. There's no stickiness anymore, no further emotional charge or stickiness. And in another case, and this was a huge one that took 4 years, but it looked like I felt in my heart compassion for this person. I hope this helped. This is such a big topic. We could talk about it forever, but I just wanted to lay down this lower the freaking bar until you can trip on it. And then start being like, now we're approaching what it really looks like to start even entertaining the idea of forgiveness. I love you guys. Thank you. Share this with anyone. It would be helpful. And if you want to work more together, join me on Patreon or book a session, and I'll meet you in the next one.